And this is really interesting because it teaches us a lesson. It teaches us not to underestimate. These kids are sponges. They absorb a certain way of interacting. They habituate to that way because they see their role models on the screens being rewarded for the violence.
A new study shows that boys who were exposed to violent content on screen during their preschool years are more likely to become antisocial and even violent by age 15. The research, led by Linda Pagani, a professor at the Université de Montreal School of Psychoeducation, shows that early exposure to violent media can have long-term effects, with risks extending well into adolescence.
They were more likely to get into fights, push people around, engage in reactive and proactive aggression. You know, in other words, start fights or fight back.
Pagani and her team studied nearly 2,000 children born between 1997 and 1998, all part of the Quebec longitudinal study of child development.
They were born at a time when the only real screens were television screens. Very few families had, say, desktop computers with, because YouTube didn't exist really at that point in time. And so it's a very nicely tight, methodologically tight study, because if we were to do the same thing today, it would be very difficult because screens are ubiquitous. They're everywhere.
According to Pagani, a large body of literature shows that boys are drawn to more action-oriented content, while girls are more attracted to relational content. This helps explain why these results are specific to young men.
A lot of little boys are at that age are a little bit active, and parents just want them to sit down, and I understand that. I've got my own boys. I know what it's like. I remember what it was like. But at the same time, they need to think that action, fast-paced, violent television creates a very, very high tolerance for violence and a very low tolerance for slow, real-time activities.
Pagani and her colleagues found antisocial adolescents are more likely to have substance abuse, anxiety and mood disorders, and impaired social functioning in adulthood.
The kids that we're raising today are going to be tomorrow's parents, tomorrow's people on the workforce, and it might be people's colleagues, people's husbands and wives. We want a nice society, and we need to project out that way. We need to think about that.
In Laval, Johanie Bouffard, City News.